And when we understand that we're not being punished, that we're not at risk of being separated from God or heaven or whatever glory is possible, then our lessons on earth become beneficial to us. We realize that all of it is for us. We realize that all of it is for our evolution, our growth, our understanding, all of it, and that is a personal journey for each individual soul, and that there is no all-seeing, all-knowing God that's like going to judge it. I believe we have been given the consciousness of our Creator, and in that consciousness we have choice, and in that choice we can choose to judge ourselves in real time. We can establish our own inner code of integrity and honor. We can live according to our own belief system, and that is a natural check on some of our worst behaviors. At the same time, it is through my own screw-ups and my, what I would say were not great choices, that I've learned the most. And so ultimately, were those choices bad or wrong? I am not subject to man's law. I abide by the sacred law. What I send out comes back to me threefold, whether that is love and generosity and forgiveness and understanding, or that is wrath and fury and comparison and punishment. So I'm very mindful of that. I also understand that my consciousness is not the same as yours or his or hers or anyone else's. And that doesn't make me better or worse or anything. It just means people are only capable of responding at the level of conscious awareness that they are holding. And so for some, they need spiritual book. They need spiritual doctrine. They need these foundational pillars of belief that the church and organized religion provides them, just like some people need to know that if they break the law, there's a punishment, right? Like, I'm not speeding through a school zone, but the reason I'm not speeding through a school zone is because I don't want to mow down a kid, and I don't want to cause danger to our children. But the reason other people may not speed through a school zone is because they don't want to get a ticket, right? And so depending on what we choose to govern ourselves really dictates our behavior. And so when the teachings of God, when any spiritual leader's teachings are distorted and people begin to believe that they are righteous and better than, and that their God is the one God, that is justification for the holy wars. That is justification to take away a woman's right to choose what she is able to do with her body. That is justification for storming the Capitol based on an absolute lie. I'm not going to go into that because we can talk about that another day. But what I'm saying is, depending on what people choose to follow as their belief system, that determines the way we function in society. And this is why we have seen Americans leave the churches in droves. This is why over 57% of Americans call themselves spiritual but not religious. It no longer aligns with that love, care, and compassion that is innate in the human animal. Okay. So going back to all the things I believe, I absolutely believe in miracles, and I know that they still happen because I've experienced them, seen them. It happens all the time. I believe that we can connect with that supreme divine intelligence that tells the cells in my womb to separate and divide and begin to build a brain and a spinal cord and organs. That is mind-blowing to me, that my body, with zero instruction from my brain, with zero operating manual that I can read or learn about, my body's intelligence knows how to create and sustain human life. And for that reason, I believe in the divine feminine power equal to the divine masculine power. I do not believe that divine creator, whether it's my heavenly Father, my Mother Earth, the goddess herself, she doesn't need anything from me. She doesn't require anything of me. If it is within me to give thanks and honor her, that is up to me. That is not a requirement to receive her love, her blessings, her gifts, any of it. Because a lot of times when people find out that I'm a priestess of the goddess and they are traditionally conservative Christian, they believe that I am worshiping a false god. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. But that was the Old Testament God, who I believe is a poser. I believe is a false deity, a demigod. And because I don't believe that God requires us to be or do anything. Our conscience that tells us right from wrong, when we go in the direction that feels wrong to us, that is our conscience speaking to us. And I do believe you reap what you sow. So if you continue down a path where you're harming others, it's going to eat you alive from the inside out. That's not God's punishment. That's the sacred law. That's the natural order of things. If all you're doing is condemning others and hating others and harming others, you will receive condemnation, hatred, punishment from others. Now, why do good people get punished? Is that because they believe they're doing something wrong? No. That's because that stuff just happens. When a storm comes, the storm isn't like, I'm going to destroy that house and that house and that house. She's just being a storm. She's just whipping the wind and taking down power lines, but she's not, I'm going to inflict this on this entire region. No. It's just what's happening. So when things happen to us and we feel like, but I'm living a good life and I'm a good person, I'm doing good things, we can be steadfast and unwavering in that sometimes these things just happen, instead of going into a shame spiral where we look for the ways that we're falling short to explain why a bad thing happened so that we can blame ourselves and hold ourselves responsible for that bad thing. But what we've done is lower ourselves, and then we spend time in that, trying to be good enough, do good enough, fix it somehow, as if there is a judge watching us. And in trying to make up for what we perceive as our own shortcomings, we start running a belief system that says, oh, I should have been punished. Of course I was punished. Of course that bad thing happened to me because of this, this, and this. So when we justify harm, loss, pain, all that by something we did that we didn't do, it drives us further away from that natural ebb and flow of energy and that natural connection with the divine that is within here. And so I believe that there is an afterlife, and I believe that where we go when we die depends on where we think we go when we die. We know that energy is neither created nor destroyed, so that means that even when we die, our energy still exists. It's not in a meat suit, but it exists somewhere.